You ever feel like no matter how much you try to get ahead financially, something always pulls you back? Maybe you make a little extra money, but somehow unexpected expenses pop up. Or you finally save a decent amount, but you feel guilty spending any of it because you don't want to make a habit of dipping into what you managed to save. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Money isn't just about numbers. It's emotional. It's psychological. And for a lot of us, it's tied to deep-rooted fears, shame, and anxiety we don't even realize we have. The truth is, financial struggles usually have nothing to do with how much money you make. They have everything to do with the stories you believe about money, the ones you were taught, the ones you absorbed from your parents, and the ones society drilled into you. And if those stories are rooted in fear, guilt, or scarcity, then no amount of budgeting or side hustling is going to fix the problem. But here's the good news. You can rewrite your money story. You can heal from financial anxiety. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how to do it. So you can stop feeling stressed about money and start building real financial peace. Let's get into it. Understanding money trauma, what is it? Let's talk about something that most people don't even realize they have. Money trauma. Yeah, it's a real thing. And no, it doesn't just mean growing up broke or struggling to pay bills. Money trauma is any negative emotional imprint tied to money that affects how you think, feel, and act around it. Ever felt a wave of stress just by checking your bank account? Or avoided opening bills because you already know it's going to be bad news? Maybe you even feel guilty when you spend money on yourself, like you don't really deserve nice things. That's money trauma at work. And here's the wild part. It's not just about not having enough money. Some people make great money but still feel anxious about it. They're terrified of losing it, so they hold on to every penny like it could disappear at any second. Others sabotage themselves without realizing it, overspending or undercharging for their work because deep down, they don't feel worthy of wealth. This isn't just about budgeting or financial literacy. If it were, everyone who read a personal finance book would be rich and stress-free, right? But it doesn't work that way. Because money problems don't start with your wallet, they start in your mind. So where does this all come from? Why do so many of us feel stressed, guilty, or even ashamed when it comes to money? Well, to understand that, we have to go back to the beginning, back to the stories we were told growing up. And that's exactly what we're diving into next. Signs you have money trauma. All right, so how do you know if you actually have money trauma? It's not like there's a doctor diagnosing people with financial anxiety disorder, even though, honestly, that should probably be a thing. But there are clear signs, patterns that show up in your life, often without you even realizing it. Let's start with the obvious one, avoiding money altogether. If you ignore your bank account like it's a bad text from your ex, that's a red flag. Maybe you let bills pile up without opening them, or you don't check your credit score because, well, you already know it's not great and you'd rather not see the damage. That avoidance? That's not just laziness, that's fear. Then there's the constant stress and anxiety around money, no matter how much you have. You could be making 6 figures, but if every financial decision feels like life or death, if spending money makes you physically uncomfortable, or you feel guilty for buying something nice for yourself, something deeper is going on. And what about the all-or-nothing mindset? Some people hoard every penny because they're scared they'll end up broke. Others spend impulsively because, what's the point of saving? I'll never have enough anyway. Both of these extremes come from the same place. Fear. Fear of lack, fear of loss, fear of not being in control. Or maybe you're someone who undercharges for your work. You feel awkward asking for a raise or setting higher prices because you don't want to seem greedy. Deep down, you don't believe people will actually pay you what you're worth. And that belief? That's money trauma showing up in your career. So if any of this sounds familiar, don't worry, you're not alone. Most people have at least some kind of emotional baggage when it comes to money. The key is figuring out where it all started. And for that, we have to go back to childhood. Because believe it or not, the way you handle money today has a lot to do with the environment you grew up in. Let's break that down next. The root cause, childhood and family conditioning. Okay, so here's the part that might surprise you. Most of your beliefs about money, you didn't actually choose them. They were given to you, passed down like an old family recipe, except instead of delicious food, it's a mindset that might be keeping you stuck. Think back to when you were a kid. What were the messages you heard about money? Were your parents always stressed about it? Did they argue over it? Maybe you grew up hearing things like, 1, money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Shan, we can't afford that. 4, you have to work really hard just to get by. These messages might have seemed harmless at the time, but they planted seeds in your subconscious. Seeds that grew into the beliefs you carry about money today. If money always felt like a struggle in your household, there's a good chance you absorbed the belief that money is hard to earn and even harder to keep. And it's not just what was said, it's also what was modeled. Maybe you saw your parents spend money as soon as they got it, never saving for the future. Or maybe they held on to every penny like their life depended on it, terrified of spending anything extra. Without realizing it, you probably adopted those same habits. And let's talk about something deeper, self-worth. If you grew up in an environment where love, attention, or approval was tied to how hard you worked or how much you sacrificed, then somewhere along the way, you might have learned that financial success is something you have to suffer for. That making good money without stress or struggle isn't possible. But here's the truth. Your past doesn't have to define your financial future. The beliefs you grew up with, they're not facts. They're just programming, and programming can be rewritten. The question is, how do you start breaking free from these old patterns? First, we have to look at one of the biggest things keeping people financially stuck: the scarcity mindset. Let's dive into that next. The role of scarcity mindset and financial anxiety. Let's talk about the scarcity mindset, because it's one of the biggest roadblocks to healing money trauma and financial anxiety. You've probably heard the term, but let's break it down. A scarcity mindset is the belief that there's never enough. Enough money, enough time, enough opportunities. It's the constant feeling that you're running out of resources, and it can show up in all kinds of ways. If you've ever caught yourself thinking, "I'll never make enough money to get ahead," or "I'm just not lucky when it comes to money," then that's a classic scarcity mindset at work. You're operating from the belief that there's a limited supply of money, and that if someone else gets it, there's less for you. What happens when you operate from this mindset? Well, your brain reacts by triggering a stress response. It's like your nervous system goes into fight or flight mode whenever money is mentioned. Because deep down, you believe that any financial setback could lead to disaster. And this stress makes it even harder to think rationally about money. You start making impulsive decisions, like spending money you don't have, or avoiding your finances altogether, because just thinking about them feels overwhelming. But here's the kicker. The scarcity mindset is a trap. The more you believe that money is scarce, the more you'll act in ways that make it harder to attract it. You might overspend in moments of fear, or you might hold on to money too tightly, never allowing it to flow freely. Either way, the result is the same. You stay stuck in a cycle of fear, anxiety, and financial stress. But what if I told you there's another way? What if you could shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance? Not in a way that ignores your reality, but in a way that helps you break free from the mental blocks that are keeping you stuck. That's exactly what we're going to do next. We're going to dive into the process of rewiring your mind and healing your relationship with money. Ready? Let's go. Rewiring your mindset, healing money trauma. All right, so now that we know where money trauma comes from and how a scarcity mindset keeps us stuck, let's talk about how to actually heal from it. Because here's the thing. This isn't just about thinking positively or forcing yourself to budget harder. If healing money trauma was that simple, no one would struggle with financial anxiety. This is about rewiring the way you think and feel about money at a deep level. Because right now, your brain is probably running on an outdated program, one that was written by past experiences, childhood conditioning, and financial stress. And if you want to change your financial reality, you have to change that programming. So how do you do that? First, you have to recognize and challenge your limiting beliefs. Start by asking yourself, 1. What were you taught about money growing up? 2. Do you believe making money is hard? 3. Do you feel guilty when you have money, like you should be giving it away or spending it fast? 4. Do you secretly think rich people are bad or greedy? Once you identify these beliefs, you can start questioning them. Ask yourself, is this actually true? Or is it just something I was taught to believe? The reality is, money itself isn't good or bad, it's just a tool. The way we use it and feel about it is what creates stress or peace. Next, let's talk about practicing financial gratitude. This one might sound a little cliche, but hear me out. Most of us focus on what we don't have, and that keeps us stuck in scarcity. But when you shift your focus to what you do have, even if it's small, you start retraining your brain to see money as something that flows, not something that's constantly disappearing. Try this. Instead of saying, "I never have enough money," start saying, "Money is always coming to me in unexpected ways." Instead of dreading bills, try thinking, "I'm grateful I have the ability to pay for this service." It might feel weird at first, but over time, your brain starts to believe it. And when that happens, your financial habits start to shift too. And let's not forget visualizing abundance. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real life and imagination. So when you imagine yourself being financially secure, making smart money decisions, and feeling calm about money, your brain starts working to make that vision a reality. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds nice, but how do I actually start feeling better about money when my financial situation is still stressful? Great question. That's exactly what we're covering next. How emotions and financial habits are deeply connected, and how changing your emotional state can help you make better financial choices. Let's get into it. Emotional triggers and money habits. Let's get real for a second. Money isn't just about logic. If it were, nobody would struggle with overspending, undercharging, or feeling anxious about finances. The truth is, your emotions drive your financial habits way more than you think. Ever notice how some people shop when they're stressed? Or how others refuse to spend money at all, even when they can afford to? That's not just random behavior, that's emotional conditioning at work. And if you don't understand what's triggering your financial decisions, you'll keep repeating the same patterns without even realizing it. So let's break it down. What emotions do you associate with money? For some people, money equals security. So anytime they feel uncertain or unsafe, they start hoarding it, even if that means never enjoying it. For others, money equals freedom. So they spend impulsively just to feel a temporary sense of control. And then there are those who tie money to self-worth. They feel like they have to prove themselves through what they earn, or they downplay their value by undercharging and refusing to ask for more. Here's the problem. When you're making money decisions from a place of fear, guilt, or stress, you're not thinking clearly. Your brain goes into survival mode, and that's when bad financial habits kick in. You might overspend to numb emotions, avoid checking your bank account to dodge anxiety, or stay stuck in a low-paying job because deep down, you don't believe you deserve more. But here's the good news. You can change this. You don't have to let emotions control your financial future. The key is learning how to regulate your nervous system so that money decisions come from a place of confidence, not fear. One way to do this? Mindfulness and nervous system regulation. Simple things like deep breathing before making a financial decision, journaling about your money triggers, or even pausing before you spend can help you create space between your emotions and your actions. The goal isn't to remove emotions from money. It's to understand them so they don't control you. Because once you start managing your emotions around money, you can finally make decisions that align with your long-term goals, not just your immediate feelings. And that's where the real financial transformation begins. Now that we've covered the emotional side, let's talk about practical steps to rebuild a healthier relationship with money. Because healing isn't just about mindset, it's also about taking action. Let's get into it. So here's the big takeaway. Your relationship with money isn't just about how much you earn or save. It's about the beliefs, emotions, and habits you've built over time. The good news? Those patterns aren't permanent. You can rewire your mindset, break free from financial anxiety, and start making money decisions from a place of confidence instead of fear. And we're just getting started. There's so much more to uncover when it comes to financial healing. How to build wealth without stress, how to reprogram your subconscious for abundance, and how to take real, practical steps toward financial freedom. We'll be diving into all of that in future videos. So if you found this helpful, make sure to like, share, and drop a comment below. Let me know what money beliefs you're working on rewriting. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this.